Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Sherna Junita and today we are going to discuss about current teaching models recommended by K13 and Bloom's Taxonomy. First, learning model in curriculum K13. In the 2013 curriculum, there are three mainstay learning models that can support teaching and learning activities. This is based on permanent book number 103 of 2014, which has a vision so that students can develop and have scientific character, curiosity, and social behavior. The three models that are the mainstay of the 2013 curriculum K13 are the project-based learning model, the problem-based learning model, and the last, discovery learning model. So the first problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is a teaching method characterized by real problems as a context for students to learn critical thinking and problem-solving skills and gain knowledge. The problem-based learning model in the 2013 curriculum has the following stages. First, student orientation toward problems. Student orientation toward problems. At this stage, the teacher must explain the learning objectives and correct activities. How the teacher will evaluate in the learning process. This is to provide basic concepts to students. Teacher must be able to motivate students to be actively involved. Second, organizing students. At this stage, this teacher helps students define and organize learning tasks. Third, guiding individual and group investigation. At this stage, the teacher encourages students to collect as much information as possible, carry out experiments, create and share their own ideas to get explanation and problem solving. Next, develop and present the work. At this stage, the teacher helps students analyze the data that has been collected in the review stage, adjust the data to the problems that have been formulated. Then the student give arguments to the answer to problem solving. So works can be made in the form of reports, videos, or models. And the next about analyze and evaluate the problem solving process. At this stage, the teacher asks students to reconstruct the do and activities that have been carried out during the process of learning activities. Teacher and student analyze and evaluate the problem solving presented by each group. Second, about project-based learning model. Project-based learning (PGBL) model is a learning model that involves the activeness of students in solving problems. It is carried out in groups or independently to scientific stages with a certain time limit as outlined in a project for further presentation to others. So the characteristic included in project-based learning is complication of tasks is carried out independently, starting from the planning, preparation to product presentation stages. Students are fully responsible for the project to be produced. The project involves the rules of peers, teachers, parents, and even the community. Trained creative thinking skill in class situations are very tolerant or decisions and deficiency and the development of ideas. Last, about discovery learning. The discovery learning method is a learning theory defined as a learning process that occurs when students are not presented with lesson in their final form but are expected to organize themselves. Operational step of implementation in the learning process is stimulation or giving stimulation, problem statement or problem identification, and then data collection, data processing, verification, generalization, and drawing conclusions. Next, we are going to discuss about Bloom's taxonomy. Etymologically, taxonomy comes from the Greek word taxon and nomos. Taxon means to classify and nomos means rule. Taxonomy etymologically means the classification of a basic principle of rule. Meanwhile, Bloom's is taken from the name of a researcher, namely Benjamin Samuel Bloom. He examines the development of thinking skills in learning process. Bloom's taxonomy itself can be interpreted as a hierarchical structure that identifies skills from the lowest level to the highest level. So Bloom has divided the goals of education into three domains, namely as follows: cognitive, affective, and psychomotoric. Cognitive, this domain is also known as the cognitive domain. This domain focuses on behaviors that impairs a person's intellect. In a sense, this realm focuses on the thinking ability and intelligence of a person's brain. For example, that fall into this cognitive domain are skills in thinking, knowledge, and understanding. Secondly, affective. This domain is also known as the affective domain. This domain focuses on behavior that emphasize the emotional and feeling side of a person. For example, parts that fall into this realm are appreciation, interest, attitudes, and ways to adapt yourself. And the last, psychomotoric. The next domain is the psychomotoric or psychomotor domain. This domain will focus on behavior that leads up to the motor aspect. For example, handwriting, the ability to swim, exercise, and so on. Classification for cognitive domain. The cognitive domain will fully relate to the ability and intelligence of the brain. This realm is further divided into 6 levels of learning and thinking process. Usually, this area is the focus or for parents, namely so that their children can become smart children. The following is a classification of cognitive domains and their explanation. First, knowledge. This is the ability to remember and re-explain a knowledge that has been obtained. Operational verb at this level, for example, include mentioning, explaining, identifying, counting, taking notes, reading, writing, and many more. Next, understanding. This is the ability to understand the material given and be able to interpret it in their own language. Operational verb at this level, for example, explain, estimate, explore, think, describe, and so on. And the third, application. This is the ability to apply information and knowledge gained in the real world. Operational verbs at this level are required, determine, assign, complete, and so on. Next, analysis means the ability to decompose a material into parts that are clearer. The ability to analyze this is quite difficult to have. An operational verb at this level include solving, analyzing, selecting, and so on. Next, synthesis and evaluation. About effective domain. The effective domain includes a person's ability to deal with emotion, mentals, and feelings. This domain has level of behavior as follows: acceptance, participation, value approved, organization, characterization, and the last, psychomotor. The psychomotor domain relates to a person's motor abilities. This domain to learning activities that involve a cycle of phase. For the psychomotor domain, there are 7 levels that need to be passed, namely as follows. First, perception is the ability to use sensory nerves to predict something. A person of at this level acknowledge, detect, distinguish, select, and so on. And then recognize. Recognize at a stage a person has mastered the ability to prepare himself psychically and mentally when dealing with something. Operational verb for this level of start, show, help, and so on. Next, gut response. Gut response or direct reaction is the person's ability to make movements according to example. At this level, a person will have the skills to follow something that can be imitated. Operational verb at this level are install, imitate, follow, try, and so on. Next, natural reaction, complex reaction, adaptation, and creativity. Creativity, at a stage a person has the ability to create a new movement pattern according to his own initiative. Operational verb at this level are build, design, create, make, and so on. I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.